What's up, everyone? My name's Kevin, KGart82. Thanks for coming in. Anybody that's new, thanks for new. Six, thanks for coming. Very excited to have you here. And thanks for the alert, Captain. If y'all can hear me, let me know. Just want to make sure. Hope everyone is having a good weekend as we jump into the holidays. It's been a crazy couple weeks. Let's see. All right, well, let's just jump into it. Everyone's quiet tonight. That's okay. And just get right on in. Of course, it's auto-saving as it likes to do randomly. How is everyone's weekend going? Is everyone ready for Christmas? I feel like I'm ready for the holiday, but I also at the same time do not feel like I'm ready. All right, here we are. This is where we left off. We're pretty close. She's in a good spot. Oh, hey, thanks for the follow. 6'2" black man. Buddy coming over from the Slee stream. But yeah, so this is where we left off. She's pretty much there design-wise. I'm not going to go much further with her at this point, only because as soon as I start getting into the posing, the statue, that's going to change a lot of things sculpturally, especially with the flow of her costume. So I don't want to go into too much detail, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with her at this point. So today we're going to start working on her staff, which is something I've been excited about, but I didn't want to like start there. So I have this shot right here. I think this is a pretty good reference. And then I also have this. It's not the greatest reference as far as resolution, but it's kind of good to show size comparison between Frieren and her staff. See, the staff looks like it will be fun to make. Yeah, no, I'm excited for it. Yeah, it's such a cool design. It's got that moon shape with the big gem in the center. That's, you know, everything about this character I think is really fun. It's a simple design but really effective. So first, I think what I'm going to do is focus on this awful piece of reference over here. Even though it's so grainy and gross, I do think it fits better, or it's a little bit more helpful. at least to start. Let's bring that to the front. Get her over here. I'm gonna make this translucent so that way I can bring some new geometry in. I'm going to start with a cylinder because we're going to start with just the main staff. Oh my gosh, Storm, thanks for coming in. Hey, good to see you. So yeah, we're going to start off with the cylinder. I'm going to bring this up just a little bit more. Let's see. I'm just saying hi, I'm at work, hope tonight goes... Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for the follow. I hope you have a good night at work. Yeah, really appreciate you swinging in even just to say hi and giving the follow. So now we're going to get this in here to start to get the reference for, or match the reference as far as the height. And all my stuff is not doing what I want it to. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to kind of match the thickness of the staff, just eyeballing it, and then get the length of the staff, extending it out. And then once I get this all modeled, that's when I'm going to worry about how it looks size-wise compared to her, because I can rescale it. I'll bring that into the other document. Right now, this is its own separate file. I'm not doing this within the same file as Frieren. I could do that, but for me, it's never really a big deal either way, because I'll just end up bringing it over. Kind of like to do items like this in a separate file, only because it makes it a little easier to deal with this in case it becomes a very large, high resolution file. I don't want too much happening within each particular case. So with Frieren, she's a very high res character. In the end, I'm going to need a lot of polygons to get the smooth look for her. So yeah, if anybody has any questions while I'm moving through this, please feel free to ask. All right, so that's about the red part of the staff, the handle, about the length that we're going to go. So I'm going to also duplicate this staff, and I'm going to use it to start the bottom part, the pommel, and then we're going to go into that other better looking image and use that to kind of get the details there. Let's see, Erwin, let's see. Do you need higher res reference for this? Yes, that's why I do have better reference, but right now I'm using this more for just scale for her and kind of blocking in. But once I get to the main staff part, I'm going to pull in that other image, which is, it shows all the detail that I really, really need. I was looking online to find some good stuff, and most of the things that I was finding was other sculptural items, which is nice, but I didn't really want to use that as reference, use someone else's 3D work, whether it was by hand or had been digital. I wanted to use hand-drawn stuff. So yeah, so you know, it's just one of those things when you're looking for reference. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Ideally, of course, you want, you know, the best turnaround stuff, the highest resolution, so that way you can get all the details in there, but you don't always get that. So this is a good opportunity to kind of show that. Let's see. All right, that's there. I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm going to drag another section here. What's nice is this right here, this part of the staff, the upper portion, even though that's still low res, that's pretty clear as far as a lot of the details. But here, let me drag this off to the side. Where's that other image? Yeah, this one right over here. So yeah, this is going to be my friend right here in the end with getting all the detail work done. But for now, just to get the scaling going, and also this is nice and straight up, there's no obstruction. I'm going to work with this. Okay, now the big question is, how do I want to tackle the moon? So what I'm probably going to do, I might do this a different way in the end, but for now I'm going to try bringing in another interesting cylinder type. There we go. And now that I have kind of a rough size here, I'm going to bring this up and kind of match with the reference and scale this up. So that way it's a little bit easier for y'all to see. Again, there's always different ways to do things. This is just the way that I'm thinking about doing it right now. So there isn't like a wrong way to do this. I could have drawn in kind of a tube and made that crescent shape. I could have brought in another shape to be my base shape to get this going. But right now in my brain, this is feeling like the easier path. Let's see, QMesh. So one of the things about ZBrush that I really like is there's some really cool tools to deal with simplified geometry and just get things out of the way. Sorry, that's over in chat. There we go. Yeah, took a bit out of that. Yeah, no, it's a big chunk. Or took a bite. Yeah, chomp, chomp. So there we go. I think that's about right where I want it. So now I'm just going to go in and try to kind of mask off sections and try to get that, match that inner shape a little bit better. And it does taper about there. So I'm going to mask that off and then mess with these little bits here. I wonder if I can do symmetry, do the y-axis. So sometimes the symmetry tools do some cool stuff. Oh, you know what? I can't do that with this. Let me separate. Okay, I'm going to separate this actual piece of geometry because, fun fact, right now all of these parts are basically one object, even though they're separate parts, because I've kind of been dragging them in and duplicating them off of each other. But I can separate them into individual tools. So right now, if you look over to, if you follow my cursor, or I'll use this thing, follow this thing all the way over here to the right, you'll see right over here, this menu, there's only one what's called a subtool there, and that's the whole staff. Right now I'm going to split unmasked parts, which will leave the crescent as its own individual part. And we'll see where the floor is. Oh, maybe a z-axis? There we go. Okay. I had to find the right axis to use to mirror. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to rotate these bits to get that taper in there. But I'm going to try to do it where I'm just doing one area. There we go. I'm going to do the same with this bottom section here. And I'm using this interesting little gadget. It's called a gizmo, where it's got the different axes and it's got the circle around it. And that gives me a pivot point to rotate. All right, that's pretty close. It does look like here it flattens out just a little bit at the point where it meets the staff. So I'm going to kind of do that. Bring in some of these areas that don't seem to be matching the curve of the reference just a tad. And also the end rounds off quite a bit. So what I'm going to do, once I get kind of these curves where I want them, I'm going to add an edge loop. Right here in the center. And that's going to give me just a bit more geometry to work with here so I can round this off. And right now the geometry is low, so it looks all jagged and rough. I'm going to add some more geometry here. Another edge loop, actually probably two. One kind of on either side, and then I'm going to smooth it out, do a preview just to see what it looks like. So there's some parts of it that I like, but some parts of it that I don't. Because if we look at the staff, it really is, it's a lot thinner. So what I think I'm going to do is, instead of doing those two edge loops, I'm going to do one and inflate it just a little bit. And that'll get it more round, and then it does thin out, so I'm going to thin this out. Hey, he's here! What's up, Mr. Josh? Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. We got a good crew in here tonight. We got Erwin. We got Captain hanging out. He's lurking in the back. We got Six. I don't think you've met Six before. 6'2" black man. He's a cool guy. But yeah, thanks for everybody who came to hang out tonight. Really appreciate y'all being here. All right, so we kind of got that crescent right where I want it to be. I might shrink it down a little bit. Might move this inner bit in just a tad. So what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to get exactly the vertices that I want while masking to shift the inner part of the crescent without messing up the outer part, because I kind of like where that's at. All right, there we go. Perfect. All right, I think that's exactly where I want it for now. Okay, so I think next what I'm going to do is work on the bit that attaches to the crescent. And so I'm going to go back to the main staff right here and separate this out just like I separated that crescent part. I'm going to split all the unmasked stuff. So now I just have this, and I'm going to go in and get rid of all these edge loops that are in here that are kind of just the default edge loops. I'm using this brush. I'll slow this down. You can see stuff flashing on the screen pretty quick. So if I hit B, it brings up the entire brush menu that I have. These are all different sculpting tools that I can use. I don't use most of them. I limit it to what I absolutely need. And then what I do is I hit B, hit B to bring up the whole menu, Z to go to the Z modeler brush, which is my favorite brush. That's what I can work on all the low-level geometry with. And then I hit P, and now this brush itself has menus. So I want to get rid of all these edge loops. So I have to make sure I'm on the insert section right here. And the alternate function, normally I can just draw them on. Like this. And I can drag it wherever I want. But if I hold the Alt key, I can just make them disappear. And I want all of them to disappear because I want to place the ones that I want to work with exactly where I want them. Okay, so this is about, let's see, let's bring the crescent back in and everything. Line it back up. Might drag the crescent over just a tad. There we go. All right, so I'll line this back up, and now I can start to focus on just this part and make sure it is scaled properly against the crescent. Okay, so we can see we have kind of like a cup shape at the top, and then it's a cylinder right at the bottom. I might actually use a different shape to make that cup shape. So I'll drop this down to the bottom of the cup, and then I want to put the rings, the ridges at the bottom and the top. All right. So I'm going to bring back the Z modeler brush. I can see there's a bottom here, or there's the top, the bottom of the top section, and then the top of the bottom section, right about here. And then I'm going to put an edge loop right in the middle of both of those. And then I'm going to extrude, after it saves, of course. Gotta love the autosave. At least I'm not losing work. That's the big thing. It might be annoying, but I'd rather be a little annoyed than go a long period of time and forget to save and lose all the things that I'm working on. While we're waiting, how is everyone doing tonight? What did you all do today? We got the holidays coming up. Christmas is coming up. Any fun plans that anyone's got going? You're visiting family, staying in? What's the haps for everybody? Actually, I'm going to get rid of these edge loops in the middle, because what I want to do is kind of pull these sections out around the same distance. Staying in. Nice. So I'm going to extrude this section right here. Just a little bit. What are my plans? You want to know what I'm doing? Well, it's kind of nice. Oh, I didn't do that. All right, my plans. Well, I'll get into that. I see Josh also had some stuff here. Let's see. I'm listening and playing Outworlds 2. Oh, cool. Christmas vacation is my one time a year I can focus on a game. That's cool, dude. I like to game a lot, but lately I have not been gaming all that much because it's just been so busy and so crazy. So I'm looking forward to probably doing some gaming myself. As far as my plans, since Erwin asked that, I am off all next week, which is really nice. So tomorrow, the family and I are going to go to Universal Studios because we like theme parking. And then the next couple days will be very chill, hopefully. And then on Christmas Eve, we spend some time with my mom. And then at night, we have a church service, and my wife and I are both in the worship music team. So she's in the choir, I'm the praise band. So we're going to go do that, help with that. And then on Christmas Day, we're going to spend the morning with my in-laws. And we go and spend the afternoon with my mom. All right, so now we have these out where I want them. I'm going to put that middle section back in. And now this is one of my favorite parts. I can do interactive resolution and elevation, and we're going to get that round kind of ridge going here. I like the way that looks, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to repeat that for these next two sections. There we go. All right. So now let's get this crescent and see how we're doing. Scale-wise. Okay, so it looks like it's a little bit thinner. We'll just bring this section up just a little bit. Drop this section down. There we go. Let's see. I need to do some work on the toy room for sure. Oh, cool. Yeah, let's see what other things am I gonna do. I'm probably gonna work a little bit on Frieren. Oh, another thing, I'll take a second and show you guys, because some of you may have seen, some of you may have not seen on the Instagram. I was working on some earrings for my wife because she has been wanting some tree cake earrings. So the first thing that I was working on was the plain one. And then for the past few days, I worked on the one with the bite taken out of it. So yeah, so this is the two. And then right now I'm getting ready to print those. I'll probably print these at some point in various sizes. Here's both of them together. I'll print both of these out, and on Christmas Day I'll bring them out and say, hey, look, progress on the earrings that you wanted last year. And we'll see what sizes, what size that she likes, and then figure out what kind of earrings, if she wants them to dangle or if she wants them to be part of the ear. Thank you. And they're closer to your favorite type right now, Josh, because they're gray, so they're closer to the white, which is your favorite. So there you go. So yeah, so I'm going to print these out in a few different sizes. Probably Tuesday. I'll do the prep and print. And then, yeah, Christmas Day, I will bring them out and kind of do a wrap session with her to figure out which size she likes better and if she wants them to hang from the top or if she wants it to be like, I don't remember what type of earring it is, but it has the facet in the back. So I'd probably do it like the upper portion of the back so they still hang a little bit. But yeah, just want to figure out which way that she wants them to attach to her ear. And then I'll take care of the engineering for that. And then, nope, chocolate. Take care of the engineering for that. And then print out the final version and get those painted and worked out. And then, yeah, that'll be cool. I'm excited for this. All right, back to the Frieren staff. Okay, so I'm gonna do that cup, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring in a sphere. Just gonna drag it right in the top here. And then I'm going to line it up with the reference to see exactly probably right there. So yeah, that's about the cup size. And then I'll split this. And then I'll mask off the top or the bottom half, and then I'm just going to flatten the top of it for now. I'm not sure if it is like a cup for the staff, so that's something I'm going to have to kind of like research and decide if that's going to have like an indentation or if it just settles. Let's see. Saving it. What animal bites from the bottom? Well, it would be hard to make an earring if the bite was out of the top. So it's just the nature. It's the choice that I had to make it look good. Let's see, but yes, it would hang from the top. So I get, okay, good, you get it. I got ahead of myself. I didn't read all of your stuff. But all right, okay, so we have this cup, and I'm going to smooth that out as well. So there we go. I like how that sits. We'll probably make some adjustments because as you can see right now, there's the way the geometry cuts through. Don't necessarily like that, but once we get a closer look of how that those bits interact here, you know, I'll make some adjustments. I think there's some cheating probably happening in the artwork as far as how those parts interact versus how they would live in 3D space. So that means we'll probably have to do some cheating as well. It almost looks a little bit flatter, the cup, so I might be able to just drop this down a little bit and then bring this curve up, and that might do this the trick. But also, if you look, like that's a very small connection point there, so I'm not even sure if I dig that. So I might adjust it and beef it up just for the sake of making sure this thing can actually be printed and work fine. Okay, another thing I'm going to do, it looks like it's not like a flat crescent. Right now I have it pretty flat. So I think I'm also going to adjust the crescent here. get this back to low. I'm going to get rid of this one edge loop here. And I'm going to do the same thing I did with the inner crescent. There we go. Just to give it a more all-around round shape. It looks really thin in this reference, but again, we can only have it so thin. I'm not sure what size the statue is going to be, but she's probably not going to be much more than like 6 to 7 inches herself, which means if she's that small and the staff is maybe like a half a foot or a half an inch taller than her, yeah. Okay, so we got the upper portion. It's a good start. So let's jump down to the bottom. And let's bring this bit of reference forward so I can see. This is a little bit more intricate. Ooh, and actually this points out, I think, which I didn't notice, but it kind of looks like these top 2 rings bulge. This third one bulges, but this is more of a flat facet to fit around the top of the staff. So before I jump to that, I'm going to fix this real quick. And it's really easy fix. Just pull out all these edge loops right there. So there we go. So now if we look at it, it's just like that. And we might bring it in just a tad so it matches the width of the center. Hold on, let's see. Okay. Now I don't want that taper, so I'm going to have to do some fun stuff here. I'm going to get rid of this bottom part of the ring. So I just have this. There we go. And now, yeah, I'll shrink that down just about there. Okay. And then to get the roundness back in this bottom bit, I'll just use the interactive resolution again and just round that off a little bit. There we go. I think I'll do the same for these parts here too, at the top and bottom. And then I'm going to add creases right here where the rings meet. And when I do that, you'll see when I go into preview mode, it's going to make those edges sharper. I'll do the same for the top. Just add one crease. And I'll do a preview. Oh, and what's nice about previews, if the creases, where did those go? I had them in there. There we go, that's much better. All right, and then we'll add, I don't want a sharp crease at the bottom. I want it slightly rounded off. So I'm just going to drag in my own edge loop. And there we see it's not as harsh at the bottom there. It's a little bit rounded off. All right, so there we go. That's looking good. Now back to the bottom where I want it to be next. And we're going to use this reference to get an idea. And here, like I was saying, what got me working on the bottom part of that top section and changing that is when I noticed the flatness. So here it's the same. It's got kind of a flat ring here. They're two raised. This in the reference here does look a little rounded, but I think that just happens to be where they landed with the art. So I'm going to go with my gut and decide that is a more flattened ring. And then we have the bottom of the pommel that tapers out, kind of a cone shape, and then we got that ring again, and then we have a nice kind of like rounded bottom section to it. So we have a cone that goes into a flat ring with a round bit at the end. So again, we are going to separate because we still have this in the same connection or in the same subtool as the staff. So I'm going to mask off this bottom part and split it. So that way I can just focus on this. And just like before, for those of you that were here when I was doing it before, you'll remember that I eliminated all of these edge loops here. And if you weren't here when I did that, I'm doing this because I want the control of where these edge loops go so I can manipulate the geometry as I see fit. Okay, so we're going to zoom this out again, just so I can get kind of a close idea of the scale of this whole thing. Now again, this is a different drawing, so it's not going to be exact. It'll be relatively close. And I do like this a little bit better, so I might, in the end, match this a little bit more, but we'll see. It's kind of up to me. But we're focusing mainly on the staff bit right now. So if I match this bit at the top, clearly the staff looks a little bit shorter in this image than it scales with her in the other reference. Part of that's probably some perspective happening, but it shouldn't be that different. But you know, that's art, that's anime. Things aren't always exactly where you want them. Mass shifts. All right, so I'm not going to change the length of the staff, but I am going to try to relatively match the different elements. So there we go, we shifted that up. So now that's about the right spot. So now I'm going to make sure this is about the length that I want. There we go. Let's see, 6. You think Frieren ever tried being fruity? I don't know, man. I mean, I mean, we can have an interesting conversation about Frieren and, you know, anything about her. She is what? She's 1,000 years old. So I would imagine it having a life that long, at some point, you know, inhibitions maybe go, or just things don't seem as big of a deal to you as it might to the lowly life forms that have such shorter lifespans. So I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't know. She seems not to be, but she is also discovering how much people mean to her, which I think that's the interesting part of the show to me, is that she's kind of had this long life and she doesn't really attach herself to anyone because life is fleeting in comparison to her for most beings. And so I don't even, it feels like, I'm forgetting the name of the character, but that one dude seems to be like the first being that she ever really felt for. And even her feeling for him isn't the same way that we necessarily feel for each other. And I think we're going to get to see her explore a lot of those feelings more in this second season, which I'm super, super excited about. Oh, on my end you disappeared, but I know you're still there. There we go. So yeah, so I mean, it's going to be interesting. I don't think Frieren is, excuse me, any particular way. I think we know that she really felt for her one companion, who he himself was super into Frieren. Absolutely. He was smitten with her. But at the time, she didn't really have any thoughts on him. So we'll just have to see, you know? All right, let's see. That's about how I did it. This isn't lining up great. So I think I'm going to match the thickness of the staff here. And then I'll make some adjustments later. If I need to. But again, there's not really any consistency that I'm seeing from like reference that I can find, so I just want to try to get this close, if anything. So now I'm going to put the edge loops in all the key spots here. Okay, and then for this section right here, I can bring this in. This should kind of match the main staff, this intersection right here. So I'm just going to make sure I grab the right part. There we go. Okay. Then this section right here, just got to expand that. Oh, actually, sorry. Does that taper in? No, yeah, it just goes from there. So yeah, I'm going to do that. So I'll taper that out. Bring this down to the brass section. And I'll bring that up. So we have that main bit right there. Now, I don't know. Let's see, what do I want? Oh, I did not like what happened there. I had symmetry on when I didn't want symmetry on. Okay. Let's line this up again. There we go. And let's try resizing this again. So that happens. Sometimes the software doesn't do exactly what you want it to do, and you got to step back and redo a move here and there. Not always the most fun thing to do, but it is necessary. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this point. Oh, there we go. I'm going to grab this point right at the bottom. I'm going to do that by masking it off. It's this lone little solitary area. So I'm going to darken it. Again, I'm going to try to match this angle here again. Since I was messing with the size of it on accident, line it back up. I'll get that bit right there to round to where I want the bottom of the round off. And this is the cool part again. So I'm going to use the Z-Modeler brush and do that thing again where I can mess with multiple edge loops, and I could do interactive resolution and elevation to get the roundness here. There we go. I'll do it from the side. All right, that looks good. And I think I'm just going to pop this ring out just a little bit. Yeah, that looks about right. All right, so I'm going to put those creases in again. Right at these major turning points, the inner ones. And then for the outer parts of the ring, I know I talked about wanting this a little bit harsher, but I don't want it too harsh on the representation of the outer part of these rings. So I think I'm going to add my own edge loops just kind of close to each of these edges. So I'm going to turn off crease, do single edge loops. I'm going to drag in my own edge loops here. Let's test that. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah. So it's a little softer, not quite as harsh as this inner edge. And that's what I want to go for. So I drag it just close enough to give that edge an indication, but not make it too harsh. In the printing process, we'll probably lose some of that stuff anyway, because my printer is pretty good resolution and it can get some sharp edges, but there is still a softening that happens just naturally with printing. All right. So let's look how we're looking so far. It's looking pretty good. Got the main part of the staff. Can still work on that crescent just a little bit. I just got to figure out this attachment at the bottom, exactly how I want to do it. Let's see. I have talked before with some of y'all to see what you guys thought of the Frieren show, or if anybody has seen it. So who has seen it here? Who hasn't seen it? I would love to see and hear who's excited for the second season, or who hasn't started it and needs to catch up, because you do really cool series. All right, I'm going to bring back that other reference I was working with before, so I can start getting that intersection and do the top of the crescent, that little bulb at the top there. Everyone's so quiet tonight. Is it because it's Sunday? Everyone's tired. Also, it's late. I know for some of y'all, you're on the East Coast, so it's much later for you than I. So thanks for hanging out. That's for sure. I really appreciate that. Okay, I think what I'm going to do to start is I am going to just get these beams in there. I'm trying to sabotage. Oh, is this in the game that you're playing, Josh? I'm familiar with Outer Worlds. That's the one that's what you're playing, right? Or oh wait, no, Westport. What are you doing? Okay, explain more. Inquiring minds want to know. Because Outer Worlds, I don't think you are starting it yet. Have you already started it because it's that time? Okay, cool. Yay, I was correct. For some reason I think there's a Westport in something else, and so that confused me. I didn't know if that was a show or whatever. Outer Worlds, yeah. I've not played it. I've seen a little bit of it, but I'm not familiar enough with it. Okay. Let's get back to the crescent. I'm a handful of hours in. Okay. I'm excited. What I want to kind of pick up, even though I have too many games I need to play anyway, is I want to pick up Ghost of Yotei or Yotei for Christmas. If I get any Christmas cash, that's probably what that's going to be going towards. But man, I have a lot of games I need to play. I am only like a couple hours into, what's the game called? Where Winds Meet, or Where the Winds Meet. I'm only at level 5. I started with everyone else who was like going crazy with it when it came out, and I am way behind. So it's to the point where I'm like, is it even worth it? Because everyone's going to be tired of it by the time I can catch up. But I do want to play it. It's really cool. It's a Souls-like game. It's made by a Chinese developer. Really neat, really weird in some aspects of it, but it's a lot of fun. The little bits that I have played, I've really enjoyed. And I haven't played too many Souls games, so to jump into it in kind of such a weird world, it's kind of fun. All right, so I'm going to add cylinders. Right here. Angle it down. I'm going to bring it in to match the center here. There we go. And now I got to get it to match that kind of roundness. Oh, just so y'all know, in about 5 minutes an ad break is going to start. So hang tight, sit through the ads, get ideas for Christmas. Thank you for sticking around through the ads. I really appreciate it. Let's see. In voice chat, but keeping the stream on. Okay, cool. Thanks, Erwin. I appreciate it. But yeah, when the ads start, hang tight. I'll probably stop working for a little bit and hang out with Josh, one of my few subscribers. Thank you again for being a subscriber. I appreciate it. First Twitch Prime subscriber on the last stream, which is really cool. And we'll need to get Hankin in here because that's who you gifted a sub to on the last stream. And I'm not even sure if he knows, Josh. We should both reach out to him. Let's see. This looks like the most complicated. You know, it does, but I'm not sure. The step, you know what the the most complicated part of the staff, yes. It's gonna be interesting because I'm debating how I eventually want to do it. If I want to make a clear part, but I probably won't. I'll probably just have it, either have it painted or I'll paint it myself, kind of a jewel color. But it would be cool to put, like, make that part out of clear resin so that way it is translucent. Maybe I'll do a version of that in the future. That doesn't really matter as far as how I'm modeling it. That would factor into engineering in the future if I want to make that a separate, like, part that would need to key in this section. But I think at least this first version of it, I'm just going to have it be a solid, not translucent piece and have that painted to have that kind of like jewel essence to it. Let's see. All right. Let's kind of look at the profile view. It does, that jewel section is a little bit thicker than the crescent. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a sphere to start. Nope, hold on, I lost my cylinder. There we go. I'm going to bring in a sphere to start. Kind of get that in the rough size there. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll line this up. Oh, that shrunk down. We'll use these edge loops to find our centers. We'll get it thin. And again, I think this crescent is, I have it a bit thicker. I might shrink it down, at least just for now, because I can always thicken it back up closer to probably what it is in reality, as far as the show goes. And then I'll do the same thing with this. There we go. Okay, now got to do the ring around that center gem part. And there's a couple of routes that I could go, but I think what I'm going to do... Oh, ads are going to start in 15, so I think we'll stop here. We'll take a break. Hang tight. Hope you get some good ads that aren't boring, and see you in about 3 minutes. Let's see, how are we doing? You there, Josh? Some of y'all might still be able to hear me too through the ads. Twitch ads are weird. I've seen people get banner ads in place and they're done in like 15-20 seconds rather than the 3-minute mark. I've had ads where it completely removes the sound and the picture and it's just the ad the whole time, and then other times where it's a banner instead and I still get to see the stream. So it's very interesting how Twitch does ads. Still trying to figure all of that out. It's been fun though, trying to figure it out. I've been enjoying streaming so far. A lot of really cool, supportive people that I've been meeting. Yeah, it's a good time. We're cooking through this staff too. I'm glad we're only about an hour in. Hey, yep, you're still there. Good. Only been working on it for about an hour, a little bit over an hour, and we're pretty close to finishing. The only bits that are left are this top portion and the wrap. Now there's some detail I can do, some weathering around the crescent, but I'm not going to worry about that for now. I think I'm going to keep the staff clean to start, and then maybe when I get to the point where I'm making the statue, we'll see what's going on with the battle, or if there's a battle. I'm kind of thinking that she's like floating in battle doing her really cool I'm superior thing. Again, I don't know if you've watched the show, Josh. I don't remember if we talked about that or if you said so or not, but it's a cool show. You should watch it if you haven't. If you have, then you know she's just a really badass character who looks unassuming and, as everyone finds out, is far more powerful than she lets on. So I want to try to find a really cool moment where she's floating mid-air, got her staff, either casting some magic or surrounding herself with elements. Let's see, and now I'm going to save this because I haven't manually saved it yet. Frieren staff. Boom. So, Outer Worlds, that's one that you have like kind of like a set period of time where things kind of fall apart and then you have to relive it and discover new things and try to like get further and further into it each time? Am I remembering that correctly? Because I'm not sure. I don't remember. I've heard about it, but I don't know if I've heard enough about it. No, that's Outer Wild. Okay. So then what's Outer Worlds? Which one is that then? Because I'm confused. Thanks for the clarification. Yeah, because that's the one I thought you were talking about. See, and ads are done. Welcome back, everybody. Outer Worlds is by Obsidian. Okay. I gotcha. Well, welcome back, everybody. Hope the ads were not too painful. Appreciate everyone sticking around through them. I've got the gem in place. Now I'm going to add the ring around. And what I think I'm going to do, there is a ring that's in Zbrush already. And I think I'm just going to use that. So I'm going to go to these brushes that they have and go to my insert brushes. Because it's not part of one of the main brushes, you have to kind of bring it in. I'll double click it and bring it in. And I'll use the center of the sphere to drag it. That was being weird. Hold on. Ooh, ZBrush is being funky. Okay, we'll see. Hopefully we don't have too many more weird glitches like that. I might have to restart the software. There we go. It's really thin. This is way too big, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of like deflate this ring to make it thinner. -50. There we go. That's getting better. -30. Nope. Negative. Oh, now I got to bring that back. -20. Let's line this up and see how it looks. You know, that is pretty thick, that ring. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to thicken this up and shrink it down a little bit. There we go. I think that looks a lot better. For whatever reason, I think these bits got kind of pinched, so I'm going to round these cylinders out again by finding the center of them and just inflating them a little bit so they're more round. Okay, so here we go. Let's look back. And here we go. So this is where we are currently with the staff. The only big bit that I think is left is this wrap and this little top knob here. And see, this design, it does make it feel like this crescent is just a little bit thicker. So I'm just going to go with it because I do like the look of it better in that. Just thicken up just a little bit more. Thicken up everything. Maybe thin this out a little bit, the jewel part. Okay. And then this top knob right here, I'm actually going to have a little fun. I'm going to use this, and I'm going to kind of eyeball it. So I'll flip it over. Bring it back up. Kind of center it there. Shrink it down a bit because it doesn't look like it is as big as that bottom cup. And then I'm just going to duplicate this. Do that. Let's look at this other reference from the side just to see. Man, I hate how bad the resolution is on this. It does look like some of this stuff is thinned out, so I might just do that. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit better. Yeah, I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Definitely appreciate all you guys hanging out. I know, especially the the weekend before the holidays is tough. That's probably affecting people coming in. Plus, it's Sunday. People going back to work tomorrow. It's late for a lot of you. So, being here and hanging out with me, even if you have me in the background, I really appreciate it greatly. Move this back just a bit. Now I know some of y'all do art. Erwin especially, great illustrator. Check him out. I think your Instagram is the same as your Twitch handle, Erwin Papa, if I'm not mistaken. So check him out on Instagram. Goes by Erwin Papa, really awesome illustrator. I will show one of his art pieces because I was lucky enough to win one recently in another stream. Let's see, I'll go full screen. So this right here is a really cool illustration that he did. You cannot have it, Josh. Nope. No one can have it. It's mine. So this is cool. This is a character by a friend of mine, friend of ours. His name is Wade. He goes by Unparalleled Universe on YouTube and Instagram. I helped him create an action figure. Several action figures now at this point. Called Odious. And this was the first figure that was from the first Kickstarter that I worked on with him. And the second one recently funded, so we have more figures coming. Really, really cool that, you know, we got 2 Kickstarters under our belt. Don't know what's going to happen with a further one, but it's really just nice that we're going to have several going. Speaking of, I'll even put this in the chat and pin it right now. Let's see, big bad. All the figures are actually available right now for pre-order. So if you missed the Kickstarter, that doesn't mean you missed the figures, which is really cool. There's 5 total. There's the original one is in stock currently. So go to that, check it out. It's really proud of the work that everyone did, all the people that did design work like Erwin and who did art illustration. There's prints available that he did, or there were prints available in the campaign that really helped push the campaign forward. That was really cool. But the soft goods work on these figures is amazing. I did all the sculpting work, so I'm really proud of that. And yeah, it's just really cool project that I got to work on. So back to the staff. So I think I'm going to have a little bit of fun right now. I'm going to bring Frieren back. And I'm going to pull some... Whoop, don't look there. I'm going to pull some color from this because her staff is that same kind of like ruby red color and the gold color. So I'm going to pull those colors both from the model, and I use those to come back in and start coloring the staff up. So we have this main bit first, fill object. So really this part of the staff and then the jewel, we'll separate that jewel out. And then the rest of it is this gold color. So fill these in. Fill, fill, fill. One last bit. Okay, so do that. Now we'll kind of look at them next to each other, just for funsies. That's a big staff. Here, let's scale her up. So I think she's supposed to be about this tall compared to her staff. So it's pretty big. And all we have really left for the staff for tonight is doing the wrap. And there's, you know, like I said, there's lots of different ways to do this. In the end, what I'll probably do is I'm going to model the part that is tightly wrapped around the crescent and have that be part of the crescent itself when it prints. And then the piece of fabric that is hanging from that is going to be a separate piece of geometry that I'll probably key in, and I'll have to figure out an elegant way to make that separate piece. So first, what we'll do is we'll just get that first wrap part out of the way. So let's say goodbye to Frieren, get back to the staff, and we'll get back on the crescent here. We're going to focus on these edge loops that we have in here. And we'll get this reference back into the foreground. And use this to help me figure out what edge loops I'm going to use. And it looks like it's everything from here. So it's 4 segments, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull out one edge loop and make it into separate geometry, and then I'm going to mask that off and separate that out. So I'm going to split masked points, and now I have this part, and I'm just since I have the color in there, just to help, I'm going to fill this with the red so it stands out. And I'm going to do the individual segments. If we go back to that, this piece, let's see, there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different segments. But another way to look at it, it looks like it's the way it's layered, it looks like there's maybe one large segment, a less large segment that is on top, and then a center thinner segment. So actually I might redo this because I have an idea. I'm going to delete this bit. Wait, how did that happen? Oh, there we go. And I'm actually going to do this whole thing right here. And extrude this whole bit and make this a separate section that pops off. There we go. And then I'm going to split, I'm going to mask and split that section. So split the masked. I'm going to drink some water. Then we're going to thicken this up using my Z-Modeler brush. So I need to make sure Q-Mesh is on. Actually, probably going to use Extrude just so things running into each other don't cause issue. And basically turn this into kind of a tube. I'm going to do similar to before. I'm just going to throw some edge loops at the top here just to get a little bit of a sharpness, but it's going to definitely want this to be softer since it's fabric. I'm going to move this over. And line up with our reference again. And it is organic, so it's not like this exact clean lineup that we see here. So I'm just going to kind of move some of this around. I'm not really worried about what's happening on the other side. Then what I'm probably going to do is kind of nail down those segments that I was talking about. So this is the bottom layer. Then we're going to have a smaller mid layer and then a much thinner top layer. So this is going to be the edge of my mid layer, and then I'm adding the edges for the top layer right now. And I can actually keep this all one piece still, and I think I'm going to. I was thinking about doing separate segments, but I think it just overcomplicates it. So I'm doing this selection here to say these are all the bits that I want to come to this next layer. Just like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this center section. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to turn this red, just for funsies, after it's done auto-saving, of course. Hey! Adam V3D, welcome. Thanks for hanging out. Every once in a while I check to see who's here, just to see what's going on, who's coming, who's going. You don't have to chat, but I don't mind it. I do like the interaction. Makes it a little easier for me. All right, so we're gonna go back to this bit right here. It's going all right, man. Working on the Frieren staff right now. Depending on how quickly I get through it, probably gonna hang out another 20-30 minutes. And if I get through it, I might dabble into thinking about what I want to do next as far as the design for the statue. If I don't get to that tonight, I'll probably spend the next week deciding that, because it'll be fun to do a little bit of that on stream, but I don't know if I would do like a whole dedicated stream to figuring out the design. Yeah, let's color this. How are you doing, sir? I'm going to put the creases on the intersections, but just that. Get to my crease portion of the Z-Modeler. Throw creases on these areas where the folds are. And then, there we go. So that looks nice. That's a good start. You're doing all right. Good, good, good. Any fun plans for the holidays? don't need to go into much detail, but are you traveling? Are you staying in? I was talking earlier, there's some people that are like, yay, I get to do some gaming. That's the only time really during the holidays when I get to dedicate some time to a game, and I'm kind of the same, especially lately. But yeah, hopefully the holidays are low-key. We don't really go out of town. I am going to get to go to the Great Wolf Lodge afterwards, going with the family, and that's going to be fun. Probably looking at a quiet Christmas. You know, sometimes a quiet Christmas is nice. So I do hope that's enjoyable for you, and definitely appreciate you hanging out tonight. So thank you very much for stopping in. All right, so let's see. We got this dangly bit. It looks like it's just like a wrap at the end here. And I'm not sure. In this reference, it's on the back, but also this is the opposite side of the staff. And in this reference, it also looks like it's the back, and this is the alternate side of this. So they're opposite, they both look like they're on the back side, so I might just end up plugging it in the middle, which might actually be better looks-wise, because it'll always look kind of right. But for now, what I'm gonna do, I think I'm just gonna use a curve tube brush to kind of draw this in, and I'll end up flattening it. And there is a little bit of adornment, it looks like, at the bottom. There's like a bead, a gold bead. So I will eventually do that. There's a taper at the end. See, in this one, yeah, the strap's not like super thick, but I'll try to match at least this segment at the end here. Because what I can do is I can change the size of my cursor, and when I tap on that, see, do you have a pose for Frieren in mind? Basically what I want to do pose-wise is I do want to try to have her in some sort of floating pose, holding her staff. I want to have it more than just this, but this is kind of what I want to go for. So I do want her floating in the air. I'm going to need to figure out engineering-wise what the attachment points are going to be, if I'm going to have some sort of magical effect wisping around her legs to where I can get an attachment point, or if it's going to wrap around her body and catch her at another point of her body. I need to watch the show again for a number of reasons, because I want to get, you know, I've forgotten moments. I don't know exactly how they look in my memory. And also the second season is coming out next month, so I want to definitely just catch up on it again so I can be ready for the new season. Let's see. Ah, cool. Never seen the anime, so I didn't know she could yeah, dude. She is a very powerful mage and a really cool character, so with the holidays, if it's going to be a quiet Christmas, this could be a fun way to spend it. So I recommend you watching Frieren, especially since the new season starts it's either January 16th or 18th. One of those, it's like middle of January. So there's plenty of time to get through the first season before then. So if you're gonna have a quiet Christmas, it's a recommended watch from me. So what I was saying before, I can change the size of my cursor and click on this curve, and it changes the size of the thickness of the tube. So if I want it to be the red part, I want the red part to be around the same thickness as this. Is that right? I think it's actually the inner portion of the cursor. If I want it to be roughly that same thickness, maybe it's in between. I don't know. But I use that to change it. There we go, that's about right. And then once I kind of have the thickness I want, I can just tap on the model here, and now I just treat it like regular geometry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate it. It's a separate element anyway, so I'm just going to separate that out. And now I can start to thin it up and kind of do a little bit of sculpting. Mostly modeling today, but I'll do a little bit of sculpting on this since it's this flowing fabric. I'll move stuff around. Let's see. It's a good time to watch if there's a new season. Yeah, exactly. And I don't remember how long it's. I think it's around 20-something episodes for the first season, and there's only one season so far. So it's a nice, good, long season itself, but it's only one season. So it's not like you have to cook through a bunch of seasons before this next one. It's just the one season, and season 2 is about to drop. And yeah, it's a really cool idea as far as the show goes. Just to give a little, it's not a spoiler, but basically she's part of an adventuring party, and the start of the show is literally them returning from taking out a big bad. And that's cool because the start of the show isn't about the adventuring party being together and how they were fighters. The start of the show is how these people have just gone on a 10-year quest, and now what? What does life kind of hold for them? And how are they going to maintain or deal with their relationships? Because they've been together for 10 years, but now they don't have to be. And what does that mean? Let's see, I don't usually watch anime, but I have heard good things. Yeah, I used to not watch anime either. But there's always the catalyst, the start, the first one that can get you. And this one, it could be the first one. And, you know, it also could be the last. But I do highly recommend it, especially since, like, you know, I really like it. And since I've been working on this, and I know you've been here a few streams and you've gotten to see the character a lot, so it'll give you a little context of why I'm even doing this, why this is the project that I picked for myself for my first, you know, stream go round. And after this, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do for my next trick. Let's see. Kaiju number 8 was my catalyst. Ah, interesting. Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer's very good. I'm still only, like, I think on the 2nd or 3rd arc. Is it the train arc that I just finished? So, you know, I'm not super deep into it. I mean, you know, still plenty of episodes in, but yeah, I still have a lot more to go with that. My catalyst, the first anime that I ever really watched, you know, aside from when I was a kid and watching some Dragon Ball, which I found incredibly boring. I know people love it, but Dragon Ball was never for me. I watched Pokemon when I was in middle school and high school, because that's around the time that was out. I think I was in middle school when it started. Might have been high school. I don't remember specifically. But yeah, aside from those, I don't really count those for whatever reason. One, because I didn't really like Dragon Ball, and two, even though Pokemon is definitely an anime, it just never felt like an anime to me because I was more attached to the game than the show. So I only kind of watched the show because it was a video game. So the first actual anime that I ever watched where I was like, oh, I'm going to watch some anime was friends I was working with turned me on to a series called Death Note. And Death Note, again, what sold me was a really cool concept where the Shinigami, these demon kind of god creatures, they're basically gods of death. See, I watch Pokemon, but don't really view. Yeah, exactly. Even if it is, yeah, it's the same as me. It's weird. I don't know why. It absolutely is an anime, but it doesn't really feel like one to me for whatever reason. And I think it's just because of the video game tie-in. That's what it is for me. Because for me, it was video game first, and even though again it's like a JRPG, it fits. It makes sense that it had an anime, but yeah, for whatever reason, it never felt like an anime to me. So I never felt like I could say that I watched anime, even though I watched that show. But anyway, Death Note, these demons, they have basically notebooks where they, some of them at least. I don't remember if it was all of them, but one in particular, they had a book that they would write the name and they could cause a death person. They were basically like death, or our knowing of death, the Reaper. So they're kind of Reapers, and they control that through a notebook. And one is like, "Hey, I'm going to have some fun," and drops his notebook down, or their notebook down, to Earth, and a young man gets it and figures out how to use it, and it goes from there. It's only 2 seasons. It gets a little wild at the end, but it was still a lot of fun. So it's another one that I recommend. That was the start for me. And then from there, still didn't watch a lot after that. There was a few things that I watched. I don't even remember what I watched back then. But it really wasn't until maybe a couple years ago, Netflix was just bombarding with just so much anime that I'm like, okay, I'll just watch some. And I found a lot of really cool ones that I like. And I've kind of discovered that my favorite type of anime is what's called slice of life. So it's more kind of mundane storytelling, but the range of what they are is really what makes it fun. Some of them are major comedies. Others are, dramas. There's a mixture. There's hybrids out there. Some are really silly. One of my favorite ones, which I hope they have more seasons of, is called The Way of the House Husband. I don't know how many people have heard of it, but it's basically about this Yakuza guy who was really high up in the Yakuza, and he decided to stop because he met a woman that he loved, and so he quit the Yakuza and dedicated his life to being the best house husband. And he puts the same dedication and intensity of being a member of the Yakuza into being a domestic partner. And it's really funny. It's clever at sometimes. He still has to deal with Yakuza stuff, and the way he deals with it is really comical. So yeah, let's see. We are in the middle of JJK. Is that Jujutsu Kaisen? Is that what that is? Is that the acronym for that? Making sure I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, it looks that one looks cool. I've not watched any of that. Yes, okay, good. Yay, I know what I'm talking about. I've not watched anything with that, but it is I did see Universal. They actually had, during their fan fest, they had a kind of 3D movie that was Jujutsu Kaisen, and I watched that, And it looked kind of fun, but it didn't sell me enough to want to watch the anime. Not yet. I kind of want to get to it at some point, but yeah, I'm not there yet. All right, so some of this stuff right now, I am going to get to a higher resolution preview, just so it looks a little bit better, and you can, so you don't see the faceting. So I'm going to go dynamic subdivisions. I'm going to go to each of these little tools and just go, I'm sliding up this one slider that just, it makes everything smoother. But it's still only a preview. I'm not adding any subdivisions actually to this stuff. So yeah, I think we're pretty close. I figured I might be able to get this done in one sitting, and I'm glad too. We're getting pretty close to the 2-hour mark, and I usually like to stop there because one, you know, still new to this, so it's a lot on the voice. And two, don't want to pull myself away from the family too much. I might do some longer streams depending on what happens with some future things, but I like to stick around like a 2-hour stream. Also, that makes it a little bit easier for all you guys. You guys don't have to stick around too long. But I do appreciate any time y'all spend with me, whether you're chatting away or not. It's very much appreciated. What do you guys think so far? How is this looking to you? Is there anything that you see that I can improve? You're not going to get that from me often where I'm asking the chat to be like, hey, what do you think I can fix up? And not because I wouldn't agree with the feedback, but I don't necessarily want a feedback loop. But I do trust the folks that are in chat right now. So if there's anything that you see that stands out, besides the fact I don't have that bead down there yet. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, so what I'm going to do then, the last thing I'm going to do is get this, I'm going to put in another sphere. Or maybe, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a cylinder. Drag this in, kind of position it. So there isn't a cone shape, unfortunately, in Zbrush. I could make a cone insert brush if I wanted to, but I just haven't done it yet. I might at some point just so I can have that, because I feel like it would be a useful shape to have, but it doesn't take me long to kind of do this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to split this. Again, I'm going to do the color. There we go. I'm going to drop this down. I'm going to get rid of these edge loops. And it's going to save. Let's see. Let me get someone in here who will give you some tips. No, no, no. Don't call in hail farts. I know exactly who would come in here and be glad to tell me all kinds of things I can improve. And I don't need that. In And for those of you that are like, what kind of name is that? Exactly. Exactly. He's a cool guy. He's done some action figure work as well. But yeah, it's very, very funny moment not too long ago where I was working on another piece and his choice in the comments of my Instagram post was to give me suggestions on what I could do to improve. And it was a work in progress. So I was very much aware of what's going on with the piece. I was not asking for feedback, but you know, I found it more funny than anything. Okay, so we've got that cone shape now. Taking up just a little bit more. And then again, we'll add some edge loops to help soften the top and bottom. So that way when I do the smooth preview, we'll still have that nice cone shape. Here we go. Now that could be a little bit smaller. And now I'll just make this stuff in to kind of fit the bead. So I don't know what you're doing, Erwin, if you can still hear me. I know you're here still, but are you working on anything fun or interesting right now? What about you, Adam? Are you working on anything right now, or are you just chilling and hanging out? Because I'd love to eventually turn this into a kind of like art collective where we're all kind of working on stuff and we can talk about what we're working on. Maybe ask for feedback if we want, but only when we want. But this is giving me an opportunity to kind of work on stuff. And sometimes you need to find a reason to get yourself motivated to work on things. And I figure if I'm hanging out working on stuff, and if you're going to hang out with me, that's a good opportunity to kind of do that yourself. So that's kind of a goal of mine eventually as this community builds. It's super small right now, but yeah, so yeah, doing a little sculpting while I watch. Great, great, great. Glad to hear it. All right, so that's it. The Frieren staff is done. So let's bring her up alongside it again. Do this, and just so I don't show her undercarriage again, I'll turn the staff. Wrong Frieren. There we go. So yeah, the bottom of the staff, and her head should hit like mid. Mid-gem, roughly. Maybe a little bit taller. It's tough here because she's like stepping forward. So maybe a little bit taller. So she's right kind of above this bar here, this center part. So there we go. What do you think of your staff, Frieren? so that's good. I'm happy with the progress tonight, and very thankful for you guys being in here. Right now, there's going to be another ad break. It's going to hit, and then we'll do kind of like a wrap-up discussion. I'll talk about plans both for this and for future potential projects that I want to do, and then we'll call it a night. I might even raid out. Let's see. I'm going to look during the ad to see if there's anybody that I can do that for. Okay. Running ads now. All right. Hey, Josh. And if anyone else can hear me because of their ads are quick for whatever reason, hello to you too. And what I want to do right now is I want to look and see if there's anybody that I know that's on that I can send to. Oh, there is somebody. Because I've never done a raid before, and I would like to raid in. Search and filter. Search live channels to raid. Sad. Swim. Currently offline. No, I thought he was online. Maybe he just ended. Let me refresh. Oh yeah, he must have just ended. Well, that's a bummer. Yeah, there's nobody that I can see that's online. And I was hoping to raid him, but I guess we're not going to do that. But that's okay. Let's see, one more minute till the ads are over. And then we will wrap this up. Let's see. Less than 30 seconds till the ads are done. Four, three, two, one. All right, welcome back, everyone. Thank you, all of you that stuck around the whole time, keeping me in the background. Definitely appreciated you guys being here today. Was really good progress for me. I really am happy that the staff is basically done. Like, there's still things that I can do to it, but I'm still going to wait to see what I'm going to do for the statue itself to figure out exactly what I want to do with that. I hope you all had a good time hanging out. Are there any questions on anything before we wrap this up for anyone that is still present? It's weird. I feel like I hear myself. For some reason, I think I clicked on a window and I could hear myself. I've got multiple windows open on my browser, and I've got to get rid of my channel in the background. Hopefully that wasn't going the whole time. But yeah, any questions before we go? Let's see. Good work. How many more streams do you think you'll work on this? That's a good question. So as far as the modeling itself for the statue, I think I could probably knock it out in 2, maybe 3 more streams. You know, that'll depend on when I finally get the design worked out. I might actually jump onto some other stuff in between, because as soon as January hits, I'll have to go into full gear with any odious Kickstarter stuff modeling that we hadn't completed. And also there were 2 werewolf heads. Let's see, do I have the other one here? Let me see if I can load it up. Let's see. Maybe it's here. No, that's the first one. So let's load. Universe. Wolf heads. Hold on, is it here? There it is. Okay. Yeah, so I gotta finish this head right here. Hey, thank you very much, Erwin. Yeah, I'm really happy with the progress today on the staff. And then here is where I left off on the second werewolf head. So I need to finish this guy up. I don't think that's going to take that much longer, honestly. I just need to get the fur in, the detail of the fur, but all the basic stuff's in there. I do need to deal with the engineering of the jaw, because the jaw is going to hinge, which means that now that we know that for sure, I'm going to need to figure out exactly how this stuff is going to be affected by this stuff up here. So there's probably going to be some tweaking that needs to happen, but not quite sure yet what that's going to be. But this is an example of just stuff that I need to finish. Also, I think I'm going to rework at least the back of the head, because I don't think it blends, it meshes well with what's going on in the front. So some design work still to do on this, but this is something that I need to work on. I need to finish Frieren. I think the modeling, the posing, I don't think will take that long. I could probably crack that out in maybe 2 streams. It'll just depend on what additional elements I need to model as well. If I needed, all the effects that I need to make and the base itself, what elements are going to go in that, if there's structure to it, if it's like, if she's on grass or standing in the mud, or if there's like some rubble, I'll need to model all of that. So it's really hard to say, because usually it would take me like a day, an 8-hour shift to do posing, and it would take, could take a day or so on a base. But with these 2-hour streams, that sounds like it could last for months. I don't want this to last for months. So it probably will be much quicker, because I'm doing this for me, so I'm just going to be kind of doing a lot of the planning beforehand. Holy moly. Oh, holy moly. Hello, Radius. Oh, thank you very much. You're just popping in. We're just about to wrap up, but thanks for coming in. This is something that I was working on for a friend of mine, a Kickstarter that I worked on with him. What I have been doing this stream, I'll go back to that. I don't know if you're familiar with the anime Frieren, but I am doing a model of her
where can you find more of me? This is where you can find more of me. I'm on Twitch. You can follow me here. Also, you can follow me on Instagram. Same handle, KGart82. I stream regularly every weekend, normally on Saturdays, but with the holidays and plans, I've been doing Sundays the past couple weeks. Good. Oh, you absolutely are aware of Frieren? That's great. So this is what I've been working on the past few, well, maybe like 4 weeks now, 5 weeks. And also today, what we were working on is her staff. So that is what I worked on today. So she is relatively done. The staff is done. So now I have to figure out what I'm going to design, because I'm going to turn her into a statue. And that's probably going to be over the next 3 or 4 streams. Hopefully quicker. That would be nice. Once the statue is done, then I plan to engineer it for printing, because I also do 3D printing. My line of work, I make action figures for a living and also collectible statues. So I know exactly how to create this so that way it can be a functional living piece in reality. And then I'm going to print prep and make this real. And then eventually my kind of goal, I've talked to this to a few folks, but it's still early days. What I do want to eventually do is open a Patreon. So that way, if folks like these models, they can subscribe to my Patreon and have access to the 3D files to print themselves. There'll be a couple different tiers for that, where you can just have the STLs straight up, and then you can print prep. There'll probably be a tier where I'll put up the print prep files, so that way you can just load them onto your printer if you don't have any software that you can deal with. And then I might have a special tier that is far more expensive, where if you do that, then at least once a month I would print out a model and ship it to you. But that's pie in the sky stuff. I want to build up at least a little bit of a library first before we get there. Yeah, but for now, here on Twitch is where I am. On Instagram, which I'm basically funneling to Twitch, but I show a lot more of my work there. Any chance you do tutorials? Good question. Not yet. I'd like to do that eventually, but I've only been doing this for about a month and a half. This is, I think, my 6th or 7th stream. I'm starting to lose track now. So right now, I'm just trying to do kind of a test run, feel out what the community wants, feel out what I want to do. I'd like to do a Discord at some point and just kind of create a little artist community where we all share our stuff, give feedback, have a good time. But yeah, when I do more sculpting stuff, usually through the stream, I'm kind of doing a tutorial as well. So I don't have specific tutorials, but each stream I try to do as kind of a tutorial and explaining what I'm doing. Let's see. I was about to say that you should make a Discord. Thank you very much. Right now, I am very active on Discord. I'm a moderator for someone on Discord to kind of learn the ropes, and I'm active in a few other streamers' Discords just to kind of like get it and figure out what I want to do for myself. I'm also a moderator for someone on Twitch as of recently, so my plate's kind of full as I'm discovering this stuff. I'll even do a recommendation. I don't even know how to do that, but her name's Sleebun. She's really cool. Let's see. I don't know if I can do. Let's see how to do. I need to figure that out. Anyway, but yeah. So my plate is full right now, but eventually I intend to do all this stuff. Let's see. Oh my god, if I start earning and get a job, I'm gonna pay you for it. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much for the kind words and the enthusiasm. Come back. Like I said, every weekend I definitely will be here. Spent 4 hours on sculpting the eye. Oh. Yeah, man, that's that's intense. We can work on speeding you up for sure. But there's times where I noodle stuff for hours as well. So let's see. And I deleted it because that was not it. Oh man, no, don't do that. So that's what we want to do. So come back next weekend after, whenever you can. Follow me here if you want. Then you can get notifications when I'm streaming next. I try to keep the schedule up to date on my channel, but notifications are going to help much better. So definitely follow me here on Twitch, and we'll get you set up. You can see what I do, kind of learn the ropes as far as watching. Like with this wolf head. Let me just go back to that. Erwin can attest, because I think he watched some of those streams. If I see it. Okay, cool. Oh, I'm glad you're following me. Thank you. But yeah, with this wolf head, I did it on stream, and it was probably over an 8-hour period that I got to this. And at the start, it was just really messy, really gross. Didn't look like much of anything. And you just kind of feel it out. Try not to worry about mistakes as much as how to work through the things that you don't like. You don't need to like delete stuff. You can resculpt anything. So I don't recommend you ever deleting the stuff that you're doing, even if you don't like it. That's a good learning experience. Self-taught? I did traditional sculpting in college is where I kind of started, and I learned how to do basic digital modeling in school, but basically self-taught. I did an early Zbrush tutorial class, like an actual in-person class when I first started using the software. But for the most part, it was just YouTube tutorials, watching other coworkers and stuff sculpt, because I do this professionally. I've been doing it for about 20 years now. And yeah, like my early stuff didn't look great, and that's fine. Like I still was working. You can still learn and be a professional at the same time. It's just you got to have that drive to push forward and improve yourself. Let's see. Well, I use Blender, and that's great. Blender is actually a really good program. I need to get deeper into it. It's pretty powerful. It does rival ZBrush in some aspects. I'm just not as familiar with it yet, so keep pounding away at Blender for sure. Let's see. Just go how I feel like. Yep, for sure. Just really enjoy it. Let's see. Being a professional requires you to learn and continue. Exactly. I'm always learning. I'm always trying to improve what I do, and it's interesting because like I get in my head sometimes and feel like I'm not doing that great, and this has been like a real confidence booster. So you will find that more people are forgiving than anything, or not even forgiving, that's not the right word, encouraging, because they see things that you don't necessarily see when you've been living with a piece of work for a long time. So try your best to not be too hard on yourself. As a recovering self-loather in the artistic world, that is the best advice I can give. Don't be so hard on yourself, because it only stifles you. It holds you back. Show your stuff. Play. I like you said how you're just going through it and raw dogging it. That's the way to do. Play with it at first. This was play. This has been play. So yeah. Any other questions before I go? Thanks for coming in and hanging out for this last bit. Sorry you weren't able to get here any sooner. I'll try to do better with hopefully getting the notifications out there, or I don't know if you were busy, but either way, glad you're here now. Thank you so much. Please do follow me on Instagram because I try to push out notifications there. If you don't follow me there already, that would be great. And that's one way that I try to hit and advertise that I'm streaming beforehand. Even when it's consistent, that's when you're going to get good reminders, because Twitch doesn't necessarily do a good reminder system. Their stories are good, but the stories don't really push out to a lot of people yet. Let's see, it's fine. See you later. I'll follow you, and it's great. Thank you so much. Thanks for running through, asking questions, sharing your thoughts. Thanks again, everybody who stuck around and who's hanging out. I think I'm going to call it here. Next stream, what I'm going to focus on is definitely moving forward and figuring out the pose. Hopefully I figure out how I'm going to pose her and figure out the design beforehand. But if not, we'll do a little play with that on stream and see how that goes. But yeah, and that is going to be, let me look at the calendar real quick to give you guys a date, because it's the holidays, so dates are crazy right now. Let's see. Bring up my calendar. Let's see, so today is the 21st, so that will be the 27th. So I plan to be back on Twitch on the 27th at 7 p.m. If that changes, I will definitely put out notifications on Twitch through the stories and on Instagram ahead of time, better than this weekend. And yeah, so with that, thank you all for being here. Let me go to full screen. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciated you hanging out with me. I've said really a lot. I have been enjoying very much being on Twitch and getting to know all of you, getting to share my work and my insights. I hope they've been helpful for you, and I hope that will build in the future as well. Let's see, thanks for the stream, Merry Christmas. Yeah, and that too. By next weekend, Christmas will have happened. If anybody celebrates Hanukkah here, Hanukkah ends tomorrow, so happy Hanukkah to you. Merry Christmas to everyone that celebrates, and either way, happy holidays, and thank you very much for joining. Have a good one, everyone.